Okay, now we had two main kinds of industries from globalization perspective. We had on one extreme global industries. Global industries where the competitive position in any country is very related with the competitive position in any other country. Normally leadership is global. On the other side, we had multi-domestic industries or multi-country industries, where the competitive position in one country is not especially affected by the competitive position in another country. And then we had all these somewhere in the middle, which we call potentially global. Which strategies have we got to face this? Well, let me tell you something. I am going to describe 4 kinds of strategies. And these strategies are normally suitable no matter which is the industry. So if you ask me, is a transnational strategy suitable for a global industry? I should say yes, and there are companies that do it, okay? But the thing is that if you consider it, normally one extreme is not especially useful with the other extreme. I mean, in a global industry, can we use a multi-domestic industry? We can, but normally we won't be efficient. And on the other hand, we won't get economies of scope, so it will be not especially useful. But let's move to the strategies. Which are the strategies? We are going to consider 2 main logics, 2 main things the companies can be looking for. They can be looking for a cost reduction. They can be very interested in reducing costs or just little interested in reducing costs. On the other hand, we have got the logics for adaptation, okay, for local adaptation. They can be trying to adapt to local markets completely or nothing at all, okay? So we have got, mixing these 2 together, we have got 4 strategies. High cost reduction logics with low local adaptation, global strategy. High both, I mean, we look for reducing costs and adapt to local markets, transnational strategy. Third, we are not looking neither for reducing costs nor for adapting to the local markets, international strategy. Finally, we are especially interested in adapting to local markets but not in reducing costs, multi-country or multi-domestic strategy, multi-country strategy. Now let's explain them. Global strategy. Global strategy, in this case, cost reduction is critical. I mean, the company looks especially for reducing the costs, but they are not trying to adapt to local needs. So, normally they are looking for economies of scale, they centralize the production, they standardize the products. They don't create different products for different markets. Okay? So, headquarters control the competitive strategies, and sometimes headquarters is the only thing existing. I mean, they produce in the headquarters and then they sell wherever. There's no local flavor of the product. There's little, if any, adaptation. Which example am I going to put about this? Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey. Well, Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey, maybe you know it. Okay, Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey is elaborated just at one plant, which is located at Lynchburg, Tennessee. And it's not produced anywhere else in the world. It's exported from this plant to any country in the world. There are just 3 different varieties of Jack Daniels. Just 3. They are not producing 20-something or 20-something kinds of Jack Daniels adapted to different tastes and countries. No. Through this, they control the costs, they minimize the costs, and they also control the product. The product is well known. Okay, have you seen the Spanish label of Jack Daniels? If you say you have, you're lying, because it doesn't exist. Okay, there's only one label of Jack Daniels. It's the one you can see in the slide, and it's used worldwide, anywhere in the world. Well, then we have got transnational strategy. Transnational strategy tries to create a balance between efficiency and local test. So it tries to reduce the costs, but it tries also to adapt to local needs. So the motto of this kind of a strategy is think globally, act locally. You place the resources wherever you think they are needed more. It's not easy to balance. You need to combine 2 different drivers, okay? And you're trying to optimize 2 different drivers. So you need to look for the best options. The example I am giving you about this is PSA Group. PSA, Peugeot Citroën, okay? It's one of the main automotive groups in the world. They produced Peugeot, Citroën, DS, Opel, Vauxhall, and now they are merging with Fiat Chrysler. So in fact, they are creating the third automotive group in the world. They have got production plants wherever you can imagine, in France, in Germany, in Spain, also Brazil, Russia, Argentina, many countries. Okay, whenever PSA designs a new model, this model is assigned to different plants. I mean, each plant, doesn't produce every model. Each plant produces 1, 2, 3 models. Okay, assembles 1, 2, 3 models. So whenever a new model is launched, it is assigned to one plant. Depending on what? Depending on the resources and capabilities of the plant, but also on local needs, transportation costs, tariffs. There's a kind of internal competition for these new models. So the plants are coordinated. So somehow you have got the local taste, the adaptation to local needs, but somehow you also have the global perspective and the coordinated production. Okay? What else have we got? International strategy. International strategy, you have no need or pressure to adapt to local needs. You are so differentiated that it doesn't matter if you adapt your products to local needs. People want your products. This international strategy, they exploit the resources and capabilities which are the basis of your competitive advantage. Your competitive advantage is based on something which makes you really different. And it doesn't matter where you exploit it, you are going to make money from that. Normally, this is not going to be cheap. The costs are going to be high, but does it matter anymore? And my example about this is, yes, our Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay is one of the most famous chefs in the world. He currently runs many restaurants in many places wherever you go, okay? And in fact, the cuisine of Gordon Ramsay in one country is not the local cuisine. I mean, it's not wherever, if he has got a restaurant in France, it's going to be French cuisine. No, needn't be like that. Can be, cannot. It depends on his wants, in his likes. But you know, Gordon Ramsay is Gordon Ramsay. People will go to Gordon Ramsay wherever it was. I mean, if he had a restaurant about ice in the North Pole, people would go there. Okay, people are going to look for Ramsay's creations. So it's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be necessarily locally adapted, but people love to go to Ramses. Finally, we have got multi-country or multi-domestic strategies. It's perfectly adapted to local needs. The thing is that this increases the costs, but look, in this kind of situation, it doesn't matter so much. It's the firm would rather adapt to local needs, okay, to be able to serve better to the customers, okay, and the power is decentralized to subsidiaries who make the majority of decisions. There are, in fact, not many shared resources and capabilities. One of the problems is that customers might want the original product. Could be. I mean, they are asking for the original product, not for the product which is especially adapted to your country, but well, it depends, okay? And the example I'm going to give you is DLA Piper. DLA Piper is one of the main law firms in the world, and it comes from a merger of firms. It's one of the biggest, and it's established in more than 40 countries. It has got some corporate services, but they are not especially important, and the especially important part is legal advisory, yes. So in fact, so long as legal advisory has to be adapted to local laws, so to local needs, the company is very decentralized. In fact, even the society form, the legal structure they chose, it's something called Swiss Verein, and Swiss Verein, it's like a voluntary association between firms. So even that is decentralized. So these are the strategies we can use in order to face the different kinds of industries. And let me remind you something. Is it possible to use a transnational strategy in a global industry? It's possible. Is it possible to use a transnational strategy in a multi-country industry? It is possible. Okay, so there's not that. No, normally, which is really difficult, is to use the opposite situation. Again, a global strategy in a multi-country industry. Really difficult. Normally we are going to use not a global strategy, but could be a transnational strategy. Could fit. I would say that McDonald's does something like that. It's not a global strategy, it's more a transnational strategy because it carries out some local adaptation. So, that's it. This second part of lesson 5 is over.